basically made it into a Molotov brewing operation, and said these guys were all getting ready to defeat NATO. With 5 guys with Molotov, we're going to bring NATO to its knees, and so something had to be done. 50 heads of state came to threaten and boast, to articulate their message and together make a toast to the new schemes they're hatching, to the next regime they'll change, to the next nation they'll turn into a bombing range. They hyped it on the radio, newspapers and TV. The anarchists had come and destroy the city. The anarchists had come and the undercover cops, the old Chicago Red Squad, their psyops. It's the cops who bought the petrol, the cops who bought the cans, the cops who brought it home, the cops who made the plans, and they got the terrorists they wanted. Now they're doing fine, they got the terrorists, and they got the headlines. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, a family is dead, wiped out in their sleep as they were lying in their bed, wiped out of existence like so many are each day. This is liberation, so they say. This is liberation, and in case you are unsure, the NSA will tell you if your thoughts might be impure, while the generals fly their Air Force all the way across the ocean. They'll build military bases, drop bombs of all descriptions, but if you drive from Florida to the city of Chicago to pay a little visit to Mayor Rambo, watch out for the cops who bring home the gasoline. Your apartment becomes a crime scene. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, a village has been hit, a wedding party transformed into a pit, transformed into a graveyard for children, women, men, transformed into a graveyard for empire again, a place where terrorists are born with every drone attack, a graveyard for the Midwest boys never coming back, a graveyard for democracy, a graveyard for ideals, a place to bury all the hearts of anyone who feels. And at the meeting in Chicago, they'll talk of women's rights, they'll talk about the terrorists they got within their sights, the terrorists abroad, the terrorists so near, the terrorists who grew up in a suburb around here. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, more protesters shot down by NATO troops who had to prove it's them who run this town, by NATO troops who have to show they are in control. While it all comes crashing down and the country stays stole, NATO troops committing war crimes every day, ruling over nations in the old imperial way. The line generals in Chicago with their satellites and tanks, taking orders from their bosses. The oil men and banks taking orders from their bosses, looking suitably enraged at terror, foreign and domestic, real or staged, whether led on by informants or just pissed off by the war. The terrorists are meeting behind closed doors. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist. I want to know who, I want to know who, I want to know who is the terrorist.